Welcome back, everyone. Today is the day for talking about relationships. Obviously, this is a subject that I know a little bit about. I work with couples every day in my practice. In fact, my practice is probably 40% couples counseling. And I want to talk with you today about a pattern that I see in relationships more often than you might think. It's called a parent-child marriage. Parent-child marriage, where one person is more like the parent and the other person is more like the child. Now, it'd be easy for us to say that the guy is the child. And honestly, oftentimes the guy is the child. But sometimes, based on the circumstance, it could be that the wife is the child and the guy is the parent. But it's a dysfunctional and unhealthy dynamic to be parent-child. Or reversed, where the wife is the parent and the husband is the child. Either way, it's not a healthy pattern or dynamic in a marriage. Now let me talk about the different roles that people play. And sometimes it's really subtle and it's not so obvious, and other times it's so obvious. But the parent tends to be somewhat micromanaging, controlling, domineering, and the parent also can be kind of scolding and critical, sometimes emasculating in the things that they say or do. Now, mind you that these patterns develop not because one or both parties are looking to hurt the other person. They occur because they're trying to do what they think is right for the marriage and for each other. So the parent is often in a position of control, in a position of power. Sometimes the parent is the fixer, the rescuer, the planner, and they like that role. And sometimes they feel like they have to be in that role because the child can be immature and rebellious and defiant, and that the child can also be passive aggressive. The child position is often a person who really hasn't developed emotionally. Now, that's something that I see a lot in my practice, are people who are intellectually overdeveloped and emotionally underdeveloped. That's a common theme that I see a lot, with my clients. So this parent-child marriage, it creates conflict, of course. It creates resentment, frustration, hurt, and over time it can create detachment and disconnectedness. It's not a pattern that is going to serve the relationship well, and in the long run can cause many other problems. So what is a couple to do if they're in this parent-child relationship? What can they do? Well, the goal is to learn to have an adult relationship. Not parent-child, but adult, where both parties are taking ownership and responsibility for themselves. Obviously, if you're going to change a pattern in a relationship, first thing is both parties have to be aware of their behavior, their actions, and their interactions with one another. They also have to be motivated to make a change. So the ways to move from either parent to adult or from child to adult is, one, to be able to communicate better, more respectfully, more appropriately, to step up, but not in an aggressive way, to be assertive, to be open, honest, and direct with one another, but to do it in a kind way. The second is to be able to apologize, recognize when you've done something wrong, to be able to forgive, and ultimately to be able to let go. Because sometimes people hold grudges, and that keeps them stuck in a dysfunctional an unhealthy pattern. Being an adult also requires the person to take ownership, to take responsibility for their actions and for their words. And it also requires people to set good boundaries. And sometimes when you're in a parent-child marriage, the boundaries are blurred. And a lot of times they're overlapping and they're enmeshed. And that's not a good dynamic. Something else that's really important in this type of relationship is it's important to be able to confront conflict, to be able to talk through conflict, because again, conflict doesn't go away on its own. Time doesn't heal all wounds. You gotta be able to talk through it. So dealing with conflict directly is an important part of this change. Having an adult relationship, having that type of relationship also enables people to be independent and also to be connected. I call it interdependence, where one person can have a close tie to their marriage, but they can also have a life outside of their marriage. They can have friendships and activities outside of the marriage, so that they're not totally reliant on each other to meet all of the needs. An interdependent relationship is a healthy relationship, and it gets you out of that parent-child dynamic. So recognize that there might be things in your marriage that are somewhat parent-child. Because it could be that in one instance, maybe when it comes to raising children or parenting or emotional issues, the wife is the parent and the husband's the child. And then maybe when it comes to finances and managing the household, maybe the husband is the parent and the wife is the child. So you can change positions, but ultimately you want a relationship with another adult. That's the healthy dynamic. And that's what you want to strive for. So use some of the strategies that I've recommended so that you can have a healthy marriage, a respectful marriage, and a marriage that's connected with love, with respect, and with a sense of peace and comfort. Use the tools and see how you can change your marriage. Until next time, Dr. Tony signing out.